Good morning, Flosstube. It's Thursday, July 18th, and I have a short update to share with you before I head off to the laundromat and the grocery store and have just one of those fun days that's full of activities. The last time I shared with you, I told you I was hoping I would make it to the Sisters Quilt Show, that nothing happened to get in the way, and I went to the quilt show. I spent the weekend with my mother, and I am exhausted. I drove up early in the morning on Friday. We spent Friday thrifting and visiting a couple of shops that had row-by-row experience patterns. And then we came back and we went out to dinner, and we went for a walk to find the Sisters Community Labyrinth, which is a little overgrown, and it was getting dark, so there are no pictures of that, but it was fun. We walked properly into the center of the labyrinth, and then when it was time to leave the labyrinth, we didn't have the enthusiasm to leave the labyrinth properly, so maybe we didn't stimulate our creativity. I don't know. Saturday morning was the quilt show, and the quilt show starts at 9, but by about 7:45 they have most, if not all, of the quilts hung, so we were out there on the streets at 7:30. And we walked for about 4 hours, and Mom's camera battery died, so we went back to the house and sat for a little while it charged, and went out again and walked till we were totally overheated and exhausted. Then went back to the house, and I was editing some video and realized that one of the pieces I really wanted, my finger was in the way of the lens, so we hemmed and hawed, and there was about a half-hour quilt show left, and we went out a third time. Mom wears a Fitbit, and according to that, by the time we had also walked out to get dinner and come back to the house, we were at like 19,000 steps. I don't know what I walk on a normal day, but I can tell you it's not 19,000 steps. And then on the way back to the house, we stopped into an antique store that we hadn't made it into so far that weekend. I wasn't carrying cash, which if I'm doing something, I usually either have my purse or have a little bit of money in my pocket, because garage sales and estate sales you're not expecting. They had a Charles Wysocki cross-stitch kit. I had no money, Mom had no money. We debated whether to run back to the house and try to make it back to the shop in the few minutes before they closed, but I decided I would wait till morning, and it would be there or it would not be there, and I wouldn't be heartbroken if it wasn't there, but I also tucked it behind something. It was there, and bright and early the next morning, I went down and picked up this. It is Down Memory Lane. I love Charles Wysocki, and so much of his stuff is out of print and hard to find. And this one had been opened. If you're buying cross-stitch kits at the thrift store that have been opened, do what you can to look inside, because I have come across kits that either had the wrong contents or no contents. I'd be upset if I just bought a picture. This is stamped cross-stitch. I have never done anything like this. If it wasn't Wysocki, I probably wouldn't. And I thought it would be easy, except this is all green stamps, and there's nothing to define the edges of the houses and the roofs, and I don't know how this works. I think from looking at the chart that maybe there are some lines here that are supposed to explain it to me, but I don't know how this works. And guys, if you can explain this to me briefly in the comments, I would love that. Otherwise, I'm going to be online looking at how to do it. And then we went up to the Habitat for Humanity thrift store, and I had a feeling that pickings would be slim, because I know some of our Pacific Northwest stitchers were in town, and I'm sure they've already looked for all the good cross-stitch goodies. But I did find, way high on a shelf, this is Glorious Needlepoint by Coffee Fawcett, and I am probably pronouncing his name wrong, and I apologize for that, but I don't know how to pronounce it. I got it for $1. I have been for years trying to remember which book had the needlepoint couch that I fell in love with when I first started cross-stitching. I was dragging home every library book I could find. I knew it was one of his books. I didn't know which one of his books. And on our last trip to the same thrift store, I bought Glorious Color, which has some gorgeous eye candy, but is not the book with the couch. This is the book with the couch. I do not know why. I have an irrational love for this couch. I have a chair in my life that I think would be a wishing well, and it would be awesome. And no, I am not realistically considering how many hours that would take or how much money it would cost for all of the threads or yarn. I'm just loving the idea. And you know what? I can love ideas that I'm never going to follow through on. Last video, I told you I had been stitching like there was no tomorrow. And I packed a bunch of projects to take to Sisters. We had no downtime. We were walking places, or we were driving places, or we were talking, and it was from first thing in the morning till last thing at night, except very early Sunday morning I did get up and I worked on a project. I'm going to show you. I made a thing. I love vintage tea towels, and especially the ones with the calendars. So this was a 1971 calendar with a bridge on the top, and I sewed myself a project bag. I now want to run out to every thrift shop and go through my entire house and sewing room and find every tea towel I can get my hands on and make project bags, because I've always loved the linen texture of these tea towels, and this one is all faded and gorgeous and has obviously been in use in someone's kitchen for a zillion years. I don't know where I got it. It has to be an estate sale or a thrift store, but I do not remember the exact purchase of this towel, which, who keeps track of the exact purchase of the towel unless it's some momentous story to go with it? So I love it. I'm going to make more of these. I put together a video showing how I did it with the interfacing to stabilize the wonky linen, and I will link to that. And I'm just all over the place. I finished the big pink shawl, and I need to block it because it's kind of curling, and I need to weave in the ends, and I'm not sure when I'll do that because I am done with this thing. It's for donation, and I don't... Sometimes I am not... It is a perfectly good shawl. There is nothing wrong with it. I am just very tired of looking at this shade of pink after so many hours. And I hope that Nita's church group will get it to someone who hasn't been looking at this color shade of pink for lots of hours and needs a warm hug. And I have the confidence that it will happen. At any rate, I'm done looking at it. I've done a little stitching. I did some more on Cat with Gramophone. I am now officially sick of Cats with Gramophone, and honestly, I've got the brown cabinet left, and I should have followed the advice I've heard to start with the least exciting part of the project. It's not going to take that many more hours, and I will finish it. I'm just not feeling that spark of joy that I have to keep stitching on it. And you know, if I fold it up in its project bag and I work on other things, there will be a night when I go, oh my gosh, the cats, I have to sew the cats. That is not going to be tonight. I did pull out the hedgehogs. I have not worked on the hedgehogs since before Mania. I really have like very little left of the hedgehogs. I've got some stuff down here and some of the blue background foliage that I didn't stitch when I was up there for some reason. And then I have these little isolated stitches that I left out while I was stitching it. And I need to start forcing myself not to leave little isolated stitches, because over 2 nights of stitching, I filled in a bunch of them. It is hard as heck to figure out on the chart what that is. There are no landmarks. It's all brown. And I talked to my daughter, she has claimed my hedgehogs. And yeah, most of them I'm just going to fill in with random stitches of single brown, and it will be fine. But it's annoying me that I did that, because I'm not a perfectionist, but there's that little part of me that goes, you should make it the right shade of brown. So this is I was focusing on the cuckoo clocks for, I don't know, a week or so. My planner hid from me this morning so I can look to see exactly what I've stitched on since my last video. I may focus on the hedgehogs till I get them done, or I may focus on the hedgehogs for a few more nights and make some progress and then not get them done yet. And either way, I can live with that. The pink shawl is done. So glad the pink shawl is done. And I've been thinking about this. This is a Yarn Bee Luxe Lolly that I got at that Hobby Lobby clearance sale for $1.99. There is enough here to make a shawl, and I have an idea for what I think will work. It's going to be a triangle, and it's going to be textured, and I think I'm going to change my stitch patterns with the color changes. But I won't know until I sit down with some needles and start swatching. And right now this morning, I am just tired. Now, I made good. I have been running around. I ran around like crazy at the quilt show, and then my husband had 2 days off right after I got back. So I have been running around doing stuff with him, and today I have laundry and groceries in the library, and it's going to be a little while before I have a chance to take a deep breath and sit down and do some more stitching, and that's fine. Sometimes there are days that are stitching days, and there are days that are do everything else on the planet days, and it all evens out at some point in the end. This is my 4th attempt at telling you that before the quilt show I saw a second oral surgeon, and he is much, much better than the first oral surgeon and addressed all of my concerns, and I have the procedure scheduled for early August. Thank you so much for watching. I am Michelle with Michelle's Romantic Tangle, and I have more videos planned. I've got a thrifting video from our sisters weekend that will come up after this one, and lots of stuff beyond that, because making these videos is fun and I just keep doing it. If you want to see the upcoming videos, consider subscribing if you haven't already, and I will be back with more fun stitchy stuff soon.